Dave and I were trying hard to write a lot of things. And because of my having worked for Al Burton as a dance show producer, and I guess he thought I was an amusing guy or something, he hired me to write with two established, going back now to Sal Turtletop, two established TV writers, Sal Turtletop, the father of John Turtletop, the director, and Bernie Orenstein. And these guys were successful, and one of them had worked on the Hollywood Palace. I mean, they'd done a lot of work. And this was called The Go Show, and it was a 1 hour, I think, ABC special. And one night, I was sitting with Sal and Bernie at Bernie Orenstein's house in Beverly Hills, and their agent came by to have them sign some papers, and their agent was a guy named Bernie Weintraub, who was with what agency? Actually,
GAC, General Artists.
He was with GAC at the time. He was sort of the variety show guy, and
he had started in New York and moved out here.
Yeah, and I met him, and he had an interest in me and Dave after I told him I had a writing partner, and he said, well, let's get together, and maybe something will work out, and if it doesn't, we can still be friends. And Dave and I went to see Bernie, and he said, if you could write anything, if you just, we had very high standards in those days. He said, if you could write anything, what would it be? And we said The Tonight Show, because we felt that it was the kind of show we felt we could actually do it. I mean, that we could sit down and write for The Tonight Show.
And then Johnny
Carson.
It was the Johnny Carson era already by then.
And he said, well, it's interesting that you say that, because Joey Bishop is going to be hosting a late night show on ABC, and pretty soon, and they're looking for writers. So why don't you guys write some jokes for Joey Bishop, and if I like them, I'll send them over, and we'll see if we can get a job for you. And so the best part of this story, we did write the jokes, but the best part of this story is your friendship.
Well, again, KNX plays into this. While I had worked there, I had become friendly with a guy named Roger Gallagher, who was another sort of a staff announcer, disc jockey type. He had been a part of a comedy team years earlier in New York on WMCA with a partner, Joe O'Brien, Gallagher and O'Brien. They were on in the morning in New York. And he had also had been a writer on The Tonight Show during Jack Parr's era, and writing under Paul Keyes, who I believe was the head writer. And so I had mentioned to him, I think we had gone to lunch one day, and I mentioned to Roger that, Elias and I were putting together some jokes to try for Joey Bishop. And so that was that. Elias and I, I think we struggled for a few weeks just trying to come up with jokes. And Joey was sort of an elusive figure for us because, well, we had seen him. He'd been a guest on a number of shows. He was on a panel show out in New York that Carl Reiner was also on at one point in the late 50s called Keep Talking, where he just would ad-lib stuff. And he had been a guest host of The Tonight Show, but he didn't have a style that we could easily lock into. It was hard to hear his voice in our ear. But nevertheless, we put together these jokes. And then one day Roger called and said, here's a great line you might want to use just for the opening, And I guess he knew Joey pretty well because he was considerably older than us, and he'd been around a while, Roger. He says, so he just, and I should preface this by saying, too, this was big. This was all over the news, challenging Johnny Carson and ABC getting into the late-night comedy business. They had had some other late-night shows, Les Crane and various people. But this was the first time they were going to follow the Tonight format. So Roger says, just, or maybe he mailed it to me. I don't know. But the line was, "Are the ratings out yet?" And so
And another one, which was, excuse me if I keep looking over my shoulder, but I keep expecting the regular host to come back.
Yeah.
Based on the
Yeah.
fact that he had substituted a lot for Johnny
yeah,
Carson.
that's right, Yeah. So we included these lines in our in the material we brought to we sent to Bernie Weintraub to deliver to Joey. So we remember the dates because they were monumental to us at the time. So on March 7th, 1967. They get
You remember the date.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they get the material, and in the interim, we had taken jobs just writing promos for local stations. Elias was at KHJ Channel 9, and I was at KNXT. And so we'd call on the phone. We heard nothing yet. And when this went on for like weeks, finally on March 29th, we got a call to go in and meet with Joey and Paul Orr, who was the producer. And we did. Bernie met us, and we went and had the meeting.
Well, before we went out, I guess we went and had something to eat with Bernie or something.
He brought us
That's right.
chocolate
That's
candy,
right.
so we
That's
would
right.
have a sweet meeting.
That's right.
It says more about Bernie Weintraub. So we have the meeting, and Joey says to us, "Well, these are fine, but how many of these can you come up with?" And Bernie jumps up and says, "Well, how many do you need?" And he says, "Well, just 2 or 3 a night." He says, "Oh, well, come on, guys, we got the job."
Yeah.
That was typical of Bernie. Bernie was a very blustery, larger-than-life kind of guy. Not untypical of agents. And so we did. We were hired. I think we got.
Well, I think you need to mention, though, that because it's.
Well, yeah.
You're going to get there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Good.
Yeah, but how much did we get? We got $250 a week or something.
Yes.
Two a
Yes.
piece.
Yes.
$250 a week
Yeah,
a piece.
yeah.
And so we start to work there at the show came out of the old 1313 Vine building where ABC was at the time, just south of Sunset. And opening night, Joey, and we were there for a week ahead, so we wrote enough material along with other writers. Don Sherman was another writer, Jim Critchfield, a fellow named Trustin Howard, various times, I think, other writers that were in and out of there. And so Joey comes out on the opening night. First joke is, ratings out yet? It wasn't even our line, it was Roger. So in effect, and I think he probably used the other line too.
Yeah, and Paul Orr had said, I mean, this is the part that I always remember, Paul Orr had said to us in that very first meeting before Joey came in to say hi, that he had loved those 2 jokes. I mean, he specifically brought them out. So it was clear to us, and those I think might have been the jokes he did of ours the first night. He might have done more. But it was clear to us that if we hadn't listened, and if we hadn't taken the joke that somebody had handed to us, as a gift and used it, we probably wouldn't have gotten this job that was so important to us.
Yeah.